a strong position in the world. It's not only about Iraq, it is about ending the war in Iraq so that we can begin paying attention to all of the other problems we have. There isn't any doubt that Afghanistan has been neglected. It has not gotten the resources that it needs. We hear that from our military commanders responsible for that region of the world. And there are other problems that we have failed to address. So the bottom line for me is we don't know what will happen as we withdraw. We do know what will happen if we stay mired in Iraq. The Iraqi government will not accept responsibility for its own future. Our military will continue to be stretched thin, and our soldiers will be on their second, third, even their fourth deployment. And we will not be able to reassert our leadership and our moral authority in the world. And I think those are the kind of broad issues that a president has to take into account.
And Senator Obama, your campaign manager, David Plouffe, said when he is, this is talking about you, when he is elected president, we will be out of Iraq in 16 months at the most. There should be no confusion about that. So you'd give the same rock-hard pledge that no matter what the military commander said, you would give the order, bring him home.
Because the commander-in-chief sets the mission, Charlie. That's not the role of the generals. And one of the things that's been interesting about the president's approach lately has been to say, well, I'm just taking cues from General Petraeus. Well, the president sets the mission. The general and our troops carry out that mission. And unfortunately, we have had a bad mission set by our civilian leadership, which our military has performed brilliantly. But it is time for us to set a strategy that is going to make the American people safer. Now, I will always listen to our commanders on the ground with respect to tactics. Once I've given them a new mission, that we are going to proceed deliberately in an orderly fashion out of Iraq. And we are going to have our combat troops out. We will not have permanent bases there. Once I have provided that mission, if they come to me and want to adjust tactics, then I will certainly take their recommendations into consideration, but ultimately the buck stops with me as the commander-in-chief. And what I have to look at is not just the situation in Iraq, but the fact that we continue to see al-Qaeda getting stronger in Afghanistan and in Pakistan. We continue to see anti-American sentiment fanned all across the Middle East. We are overstretched in a way. We do not have a strategic reserve at this point. If there was another crisis that was taking place, we would not have a brigade that we could send to deal with that crisis that isn't already scheduled to be deployed in Iraq. That is not sustainable. That's not smart national security policy, and it's going to change when I'm president.
Senator Obama, let's stay in the region. Iran continues to pursue a nuclear option. Those weapons, if they got them, would probably pose the greatest threat to Israel. Mm-hmm. During the Cold War, it was the United States policy to extend deterrence to our NATO allies. An attack on Great Britain would be treated as if it were an attack on the United States. Should it be U.S. policy now to treat an Iranian attack on Israel as if it were an attack against the United States?
Well, our first step should be to keep nuclear weapons out of the hands of the Iranians. And that has to be one of our top priorities, and I will make it one of our top priorities when I'm President of the United States. I've said I will do whatever is required to prevent the Iranians from obtaining nuclear weapons. I believe that that includes direct talks with the Iranians, where we are laying out very clearly for them, here are the issues that we find unacceptable. Not only development of nuclear weapons, but also funding terrorist organizations like Hamas and Hezbollah, as well as their anti-Israel rhetoric and threats towards Israel. I believe that we can offer them carrots and sticks, but we've got to directly engage and make absolutely clear to them what our posture is. Now, my belief is that they should also know that I will take no options off the table when it comes to preventing them from using nuclear weapons or obtaining nuclear weapons, and that would include any threats directed at Israel or any of our allies in the region.
So you would extend our deterrent to Israel?
As I said before, I think it is very important that Iran understands that an attack on Israel is an attack on our strongest ally in the region, one that one whose security we consider paramount, and that would be an act of aggression that I would consider an attack that is unacceptable, and the United States would take appropriate action.
Senator Clinton, would you?
Well, in fact, George, I think that we should be looking to create an umbrella of deterrence that goes much further than just Israel. Of course, I would make it clear to the Iranians that an attack on Israel would incur massive retaliation from the United States, but I would do the same with other countries in the region. You know, we are at a very dangerous point with Iran. The Bush policy has failed. Iran has not been deterred. They continue to try to not only obtain the fissile material for nuclear weapons, but they are intent upon using their efforts to intimidate the region and to have their way when it comes to the support of terrorism in Lebanon and elsewhere. And I think that this is an opportunity with skillful diplomacy for the United States to go to the region and enlist the region in a security agreement vis-a-vis Iran. It would give us three tools we don't now have. Number one, we've got to begin diplomatic engagement with Iran, and we want the region and the world to understand how serious we are about it. And I would begin those discussions at a low level. I certainly would not meet with Ahmadinejad because even, again, today he made light of 9/11 and said that he's not even sure it happened and that people actually died. He's not someone who would have an opportunity to meet with me in the White House, but I would have a diplomatic process that would engage him. And secondly, we've got to deter other countries from feeling that they have to acquire nuclear weapons. You can't go to the Saudis or the Kuwaitis or UAE and others who have a legitimate concern about Iran and say, well, don't acquire these weapons to defend yourself unless you're also willing to say, we will provide a deterrent backup. And we will let the Iranians know that, yes, an attack on Israel would trigger massive retaliation, but so would an attack on those countries that are willing to go under the security umbrella and forswear their own nuclear ambitions. And finally, we cannot permit Iran to become a nuclear weapons power. And this administration has failed in our efforts to convince the rest of the world that that is a danger not only to us and not just to Israel, but to the region and beyond. Therefore, we have got to have this process that reaches out beyond even who we would put under the security umbrella to get the rest of the world on our side to try to impose the kind of sanctions and diplomatic efforts that might prevent this from occurring.
Let me turn to the economy. That is the number one issue on Americans' minds right now. Yesterday, Senator McCain signaled that the number one issue in the general election campaign on the economy is going to be taxes. And he says that both of you are going to raise taxes, not just on the wealthy, but on everyone. Here's what he said in his speech yesterday.
All these tax increases are under the fine print of the slogan, hope. They're going to raise your taxes by thousands of dollars a year, and they have the audacity to hope you don't mind.
Senator Clinton, two-part question. Two-part question. Can you make an absolute, read my lips pledge that there will be no tax increases of any kind for anyone earning under $200,000 a year? And if the economy is as weak a year from now as it is today, will you persist in your plans to roll back the President Bush's tax cuts for wealthier Americans?
Well, George, I have made a commitment that I will let the taxes on people making more than $250,000 a year go back to the rates that they were paying in the 1990s.
Even if the economy is weak?
Yes, and here's why. Number one, I do not believe that it will detrimentally affect the economy by doing that. As I recall, we used that tool during the 1990s to very good